Let's unravel Geeta's world.
But the weather seemed to be pretty bad in those parts, and they were traveling through the jungles. So, who gave the clearance and the go-ahead, clearing the president's convoy as flight ready in such inclement weather conditions? One.
Yeah.
Secondly, it was a convoy of helicopters. There were three. There was one ahead, one behind, and then it was the president's aircraft. The other two have landed safely, and this one was caught in bad turbulence.
I said that why remove someone, which many observers have also said, that who doesn't take the final call, as in he was not the supreme leader, he was the president.
Why are you even assuming for once that any leader of Iran can just be killed within Iran? Mossad can't just take anyone out. If there is an external hand, this could blow up into one of the biggest conflicts of the region, because Iran is then going to take on whoever they think is responsible.
Hello and welcome to the 91st episode of Geeta's World. And before we begin, Geeta, I think we should really congratulate and thank all our listeners and viewers, because we got like a flurry of comments on the previous video that we did on India-China trade policy.
Yes.
And it was very overwhelming. Actually, bouquets and brickbats, it's not like everything is
Which
very
is a good thing,
rosy.
because any brickbat is constructive criticism. We'll take it as is and see if there's room for improvement. But thank you to all our listeners and viewers who actually gave us a lot of, not just compliments, but also the fact that there was so much that they thought they got out of this podcast.
For sure. And also we got a couple of emails as well. They were like really long, but very much interesting.
But Anna is very interested in letting the world know what was said. So Anna, please go ahead. Read out at least a couple of words from the emails that we received.
Yeah, so we got one from Suryansh. He works as an equity analyst covering US banks in Chicago. So he has actually written many good words for us, saying that he thanks us for an excellent podcast, and it was great to hear our thoughts on India's trade policy. And he also mentions that he feels that we guys are like a lone voice in mainstream Indian media pointing these things out.
So that's good to know.
Yeah, he congratulates us on the analysis on how we treat foreign businesses in India also resonated with him. So like Suryansh, you can actually mail us, or like other 300 comments that we got. We keep a count because it's actually very overwhelming. So you could also drop us an email on pots@indiatoday.com, or you could WhatsApp us on 8588 966 996. Or I think the best way is just put a comment just below this video that you're watching. So today we are discussing something that is all over the internet. The weekend was really hectic because for sure you
for
must
us
have
for
been.
Sure, yes, for my desk, yes.
Yeah, so on 20th May, this news broken, although it was very much speculative. I actually felt that, we should just wait for confirmations, because in these because I remember there was this another news on when Prigozhin, the Wagner chief of Russia, when he was killed. I think similar speculations were doing the rounds. So I was like, let's just wait. And then slowly in just one day, it was clear that...
but when we talk about helicopter crashes,
right.
It is one of those incidents where chances of survival or survival rate is very low. There is no cushion, there is no factor that you see in an aeroplane or a smaller mid-sized plane that you'd see in a helicopter, because the crash or if there is turbulence or if there's a problem with the helicopter, it's so sudden that there's no time for recovery in a helicopter. And therefore, if it was bad weather, we're discussing the accident that led to the crash and death of President Raisi the foreign minister of Iran, as also his
Hmm.
delegation who traveled to Azerbaijan. So, putting that in perspective, when there is a crash or if it's a helicopter in bad weather, inclement weather, we've
Yeah.
had our own chief of defense staff (CDS)
Yeah.
die in a
Yeah.
plane
Bipin
in a helicopter crash.
Right.
Then the recovery time or even that moment time for recovery is
Hmm.
very, very less, far lesser than if there would be if it were a plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that could be one of the reasons why. We'll
Hmm.
delve into that in detail. If you could just
Yeah.
let our viewers and listeners know what really transpired for us to really discuss.
Yeah, so like Geeta said, we're talking about the tragic death of Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi and the Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian and a few other officials who were killed in a helicopter crash. So Ibrahim Raisi has been the president since 2021, and during his tenure, he's been involved in massive crackdowns against people inside Iran. And this is the first time the Islamic Republic has lost a president, sitting or former, to such an accident. So, like we were discussing, I mean, it has given rise to us, number of speculations and conspiracy theories. Was it really an accident? Was there any foul play involved? Because Raisi, if we see, he has a long list of internal enemies. From the relative moderates, he has marginalized to the fellow conservatives who think he has been an inept president.
Or who think he's a threat because of the succession plan, where
That's
his
true.
name figures almost above Mushtabaz, who is
Yes.
the son of Khamenei.
Yes, and we did an entire episode, I think, just in March when they held the parliamentary elections, and you said why conservatism will continue to
Yes.
thrive in Iran. Um, so anyway, regarding this, there are a lot of questions that we'll also try to delve into this episode. Like for example, what happens, after there's a vacancy in the presidential position in Iran. So, of course, for now, I think Mohammad Mukhber, he has been appointed as the interim president, and in the next 50 days, they have to have, a president.
They
Uh,
must,
they,
according
but
to the
then,
constitution,
according to the constitution,
but it all depends on what the Ayatollah wants. For now, it seems like he's going with what the constitution is, and which
okay,
is that within 50 days, that in the event of the sudden death of the president, the
right,
vice president takes over, first president takes over. They also have a few,
yeah,
not always one. And within 50 days, elections have to be held again. But it would be the decision of the Ayatollah whether if he would want elections to be held within 50 days or maybe allow him to finish the term of Raisi, which
oh,
would have ended in 2025 and then hold
okay,
elections. For now, it seems like they're going by the book,
yeah, because they know the
but
world
there
is
is a,
watching, so
yeah, but then it doesn't make a difference.
mm,
Raisi was also almost like the chosen leader
right,
when
right,
he won the elections. So would they want to have that much resources
yeah,
of the country spent on an election and then have another one, later? So I suppose the call will have to be taken by the Ayatollah. And it also comes at a time, like you said, Anna, very at a time when Iran is dealing
mm,
with a lot, not
yeah,
just within, but also in the region,
yes,
the
yes,
Israel Hamas conflict, and which is why there are so many questions being raised
mm,
about the death of President Raisi, because it comes at a time when Iran is a target.
yeah,
It comes at a time and during a visit of the president outside of Iran, and he was in the border area.
yeah,
Uh, it also happens to be an American helicopter,
helicopter,
American, yeah,
yeah,
made helicopter.
yeah,
And so a lot of questions, speculations,
mm,
investigation has been ordered. We'll have to wait and see what really comes out of it. But this
yeah,
is shocking, not just because President Raisi is no more. The two people who were at the forefront of Iran's foreign policy were in the inner circle of Ayatollah Khamenei
Hmm.
are no more. President Raisi and the foreign minister, as
Yeah.
also one of the most important imams and clerics of Iran, and a governor.
Hmm.
So we'll have to wait and see how this really pans out. But yes, the reactions for a figure such as Raisi has been quite mixed.
Right. Yeah.
While many in the conservative quarter say he was not a divisive force, he was not polarizing, but the others who remember him for the hijab and the chastity laws
Yeah.
call him a polarizing figure, which is why, while there has been an absolute shock, despondency, and mourning
Hmm.
of the leaders, the entire delegation, there is also another section that, in a way, has it's a very sensitive thing. So saying celebrated
Yeah. I
the
mean,
death of the
yeah.
president.
I
And
was
it's not
actually.
just within,
Hmm.
because within Iran it would be smaller sections, but it's all those exiled or those activists living in Europe. So we've seen a lot of revelry and celebration there. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
mixed reaction to a leader who leaves a legacy behind
Hmm.
uh, which has had a lot of ups and downs,
Yeah.
a lot of questions, and yes, it comes from his post-revolution conservatism
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
he carried through and through, which is why he was so close
Yeah.
to the supreme leader.
Right. I mean, of course, like I was actually about to come to the point where you said that, there's a mixed reaction that we're seeing inside and outside Iran. But before that, I think, Geeta, although, I mean, it's under investigation and we are here to discuss everything, and it's still under speculation, and Iran has to have that. I mean, it will definitely have like an official take on what exactly happened. Maybe not now, but probably few months, years later, or maybe they will not
Oh, they
clarify.
will.
Okay. But then we don't know exactly, what will
One
be
they
the
will have to,
veracity of
yeah,
that.
one they
Yeah.
will have to look for the black box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Secondly, if you've completed your question, or
Yeah,
else
no,
just, yeah.
yeah. I just wanted to ask that because what I have been following is like there's so many speculations, and I think BBC and other outlets have also pointed out in India Today. Also, we have said that because of so many sanctions by the US, the infrastructure in Iran is so poor that the aircraft condition is like really bad. So probably this would have contributed in the crash. But then there's also a theory that we could have Israel's hand. But then there's also this, that why would Israel um, invest so much in killing, in probable killing of a leader in which the powers, I mean, in his hands, the exact power doesn't
No,
lie.
they have killed army commanders in the Iranian embassy in Syria. Americans, with the help of their Israeli friends, ensured that Qasem Soleimani, the chief of the Iranian intel, was killed in Iraq.
Hmm.
There are reasons galore to actually have the leadership killed,
Okay.
because it does create a vacuum. But was that the case? Now
Yeah.
let's just study what really happened,
Right. Yeah.
and we leave it at the fact that investigations are still underway.
Of
One,
course.
the weather conditions
Hmm.
when the president's helicopter was to take off were pretty bad,
Yeah.
which means that there should have been a proper assessment of weather conditions. Given the fact that you already know that you have a worn, torn helicopter that has not gone into repair for a very long time because of the
Yeah.
sanctions,
Yeah.
who gave clearance? Did the weather turn very bad after takeoff, or was it
Hmm.
already bad? From the videos that we see of the rescue operations, and the visuals of when he was at the dam for the inauguration and when they took off, it did look all right, but the weather seemed to be pretty bad in those parts, and they were traveling through the jungles.
Hmm.
So who gave the clearance and the go ahead clearing um, the president's convoy as flight ready in such inclement weather conditions. One.
Yeah.
Secondly, it was a convoy of helicopters. There were
Mm.
three. There
Yeah.
was one ahead, one behind, and then it was the president's aircraft. The other two have landed safely, and this one was caught in bad turbulence leading up to
The crash. Yeah.
falling, hard landing and crashing,
Yeah.
with the tail stuck wedged between two trees, and the rest of the
Mm. Debris and
helicopter completely burnt,
mm.
which is why, and it almost fell head first, which is why they're saying that the death of the pilot was almost immediate, and the others, in all probability, died because of the impact, not because of burning
Okay.
to death. And the tail was wedged between two trees. So that's how it's been described with reporters who managed to reach the spot.
Yeah.
But there are two other helicopters who landed safely, so we'll have to see what after the questioning and the, we'll not say interrogation because they're not at fault over
Mm.
here,
Mm.
but what from the questioning, what really transpired and happened. And then we will have to see if they find a black box to know if there was any last minute conversation on what really
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Then there is this entire speculation of whether if there could be an external hand, and there are some who've actually blamed,
Mm.
saying that there could be. If Anna, if there is an external hand,
Mm.
this could blow up into one of the biggest conflicts of the region, because Iran is then going to take on whoever they think is responsible.
Yeah.
As of now, I don't think it would have been in anybody's interest
Mm.
to have this entire conflict blow up to this extent. In fact, if anything, it would have been in Israel's favor to have Iran out. The fact that they're already supporting Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis has been a problem. To keep them out and not have a state-to-state war was something that everybody wanted. Which is why when the Israelis bombed that Iranian embassy or consulate
Yeah.
mission in Syria, even the Americans were quite angry, and they also said, "What are you doing? Because then you'll have a response." And then the Iranians responded with their missiles, and Israel said, "Well, it's been a victory for Iran, for Israel, because they could not breach." Iran says, there was this expert commentary from somebody who said that they're absolutely wrong, from Professor Marandi in Iran, who said they're absolutely wrong in saying that it was Iran's failure. One, we did breach Israel.
Yeah.
We did breach the Iron Dome. Secondly, we used the oldest technology and oldest missiles and drones that we had. So you don't know our advanced technology. But because we had forewarned you, you were ready with your latest technology, the most advanced technology, to fend our missiles off. Which means now Iran knows what your advanced technology is. You don't know what ours is.
Mm.
And you have you with this breach, you have shown that you are vulnerable. Iran is not. We still have a lot to go. So I'm just saying that there's a whole lot of narrative building that has happened over whether if this could be an outside interference or meddling or not. But the fact is, it does not help anybody right now. Investigations have been called for.
Okay.
Investigations will reveal about the convoy, weather conditions, who gave the go-ahead, what happened in the black box. Once all of that is out, we'll know. But should there be, Anna,
Then it will actually create
any interference or meddling or an outside hand in the death of President Raisi, one of the closest people to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, then this will certainly be the beginning of a very, very turbulent time, not just in West Asia and the Persian Gulf, but globally.
Wow. But I mean, you spoke of two possibilities. First, the crash about the black box thing, and then secondly, regarding Israel's probable hands. Um, Third, like we discussed last time as well about the parliamentary elections, which revealed a record low turnout in this theocratic state because, I mean, the citizens over there, like, they are very disillusioned and they're very like, doesn't make any difference if even if they vote. So it recorded a very low turnout in Iran this time. But the power struggle, if you see within Iran in the clerical system, it is very apparent. If you see about parliamentary elections, they hold it every 4 years, and the assembly of experts every 8 years. And this assembly is a group of 88 Islamic clerics responsible for selecting the next supreme leader when the time comes,
Hmm.
because Khamenei is 84, 85. So this new assembly will sit for 8 years. Like, I think the past parliamentary elections as well, which was held in March, like you also explained that the conservatives are here to stay, because anyway the reformists are banned from from contesting. So regarding Khamenei's successions, hardliners, they look to the elections and particularly to the of the assembly of experts to cement their grip on succession. But you have also mentioned that they are hardly like a united bunch, the conservatives. I mean, some of them wanted Raisi to do the job after Khamenei retires, but he lacked credentials, like they say. But there were others who proposed that Mojtaba, Khamenei's son, should take over. So, considering the palpable rift within the conservatives themselves, uh, there are so many observers who say that this could be the politicians' work. But if it is, now that he is no more, um, I mean, if Mojtaba comes to power after Khamenei retires, then will it not cement this entire conspiracy theory that, okay, so if it does, then how will they avoid it?
See, this is a very interesting one that you point out, that the internal rifts within one is that if there could be outside meddling or
Yeah.
if there could be an outside hand to Raisi's death. The other is the internal conflicts
Mm.
within the Iranian society, conservative society, political class, that has led to a lot of rivalries within and a lot of pulls and pushes that we've seen in the recent past. And could that mean that there could be the hand of some insider in Raisi's killing or death? But the fact is that, when I was asking one of the professors this, that does this pave the way for Mojtaba
Yeah.
Khamenei to take over as the supreme leader? He said, one is that the council will decide. Secondly, the supreme leader had already said that it will not be Mujtaba because the idea of the revolution
Okay.
and ousting of the Shah dynasty
Yeah.
was to oppose any dynastic rule.
Oh,
This
okay.
monarchical rule that the father, after the father, the son takes over. So he, anyway, is opposed to the idea. It could be Mujtaba, Hannah. We
Hmm.
don't know
Hmm.
because in the council we'll have to see who has more weight, and Mujtaba does have a lot of say and weight, but that comes from him being a part of that entire
Yeah.
policy, governance, and power architecture in Iran.
Hmm.
Having said that, the Supreme Leader has already made it very clear, and which is why Raisi was important and was named,
Hmm.
that, in all probability, the council will decide. But we're not looking at dynastic, politics over here. We're not looking at a dynastic succession because the idea was, this whole idea is monarchical, and he's anti monarchy, anti the Shah. And if you want to be anti that and you've had this revolution and you've taken over from an ayatollah who you were not related to,
Yeah.
and then you give it to somebody who you're related to, makes no sense. So this Professor Imamian from Tehran, said that it is unlikely that it would be Mojtaba. At the end of the day, the council will decide who will be the next supreme leader, because for the simple reason that they don't want to look dynastic
Yeah.
in their policy and ideas.
So do we have other names besides
No, right now,
Mojtaba?
I mean, a lot in terms of the names. The two names that were actually doing the rounds were Raisi and Mojtaba, which is why a lot of people are questioning and pointing fingers at Mojtaba. But the thing is, if this also gets a lot of traction, then there will be some diversion. We'll have to wait and see what the diversion really is going to be, and will that point fingers at outsiders.
Yeah.
Another very interesting that really happened was in one of the interviews, former Foreign Minister Javed Zarif has already blamed America for it, but not because they think America went ahead and meddled with the helicopter for it to crash. He blamed them, saying that by sanctioning Iran for so long, we have not been able to get spare parts for these helicopters, and we've not been able to repair these helicopters. So directly or indirectly, America is involved. That's how he's blaming America, not directly saying that they actually came and did something to the helicopter for
because
it to
if
have
you're
crashed.
sanctioning a country, you're definitely right. I mean, there is something in your mind, and not that we are implying anything, but it's just to corroborate whatever he's saying. Yeah. Regarding the names, I just want to quickly mention this because I read somewhere about parliamentary speaker. Actually, there's a council consisting of mukhber, parliamentary speaker.
So Mukhbir is also a very important man. He's from the inner circle of the Ayatollah, and he also holds a lot of sway. He's also very important conservative and has been. So Mukhbir and now the acting foreign minister, who was deputy foreign minister, again, and from the inner circle of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And they also, the deputy foreign minister, now the acting foreign minister, actually was a very important negotiator in the nuclear program. So all these people have been a part of not just foreign policy, the nuclear program, their security system within, the policies of hijab and chastity laws, all of that. These people have been one with the Ayatollah. So the other two names that you're saying are important.
Yeah. The other name was Muhammad Baqir Qalibaf. So there was this article who said that figures like Qalibaf, they have presidential ambitions. So they might actually see this as an opportunity to ascend to that position. And he also has the support of the IRGC and the conservative factions. So I think probably time will tell who.
Yeah, but these are all political ambitions.
Yeah, right.
They're two very separate things. Succession to presidency comes from the constitution, 50 days, elections. Elections are held, and whoever is the Ayatollah's favorite in that season will in all probability become the president. But elections are held, and they will be seeing who wins popularity of the people as well. But supreme leader, succession of the supreme leader, should he pass or when he passes, depends on the council.
Yeah, because there are two vacant positions. I mean, eventually there would be the president and the supreme leader.
But it's the more powerful one is the supreme leader. The presidents can come and go, but the supreme leader is...
The presidents can actually just take the final call on economic policies, right? And the rest of the final decisions are made by the supreme leader. Most of the decisions, yeah. Also, is it that Iran state media, like what I read, has focused on bad weather as the cause of the helicopter crash, and they have not stated, like Iran's own state media.
They are continuing to maintain bad weather because that is what actually, when you see on the ground, can be seen. It was really bad weather, to the
Right.
extent that when, when the first news of the copter crash came,
Yeah.
the weather was so bad. And by nightfall, by when it was getting dark, the temperatures had dipped to 6 degrees. So even in that
Mm.
crash, if they would have survived with their wounds and everything,
Mm.
imagine being in that mountainous terrain,
Yeah.
with massive wind effect and drizzle,
Mm.
and it was wet, damp, and very, very cold. So imagine being in that condition
Yeah.
with your wounds
Mm.
through the night. I don't know how, the elderlies.
Mm.
He survived by his wife, who actually is
Mm.
quite a well-known face
Mm.
in Iran. In fact, she was the one who actually spoke about the conservative laws and said that, uh, chastised all those who, were trying to be liberal.
Yeah.
So she backed and supported
Mm.
the hijab and chastity laws. Professor herself is very well known in the realm of politics, academically inclined, socially has been quite,
Mm.
available to a lot of work that is being done in the realm of, social welfare.
Yeah.
So she actually was quite active even before President Raisi became the president.
Mhm. The one point that I also asked, and you said that of course this is a possibility, but I'm still confused in the sense that if we talk about this conspiracy theory of Israel being involved, I said that why remove someone, which many observers have also said that who doesn't take the final call, as in he was not the supreme leader, he was the president. But you said that the Mossad, I mean Israel's spy service, it has a long history of assassinations, assassinating its enemies, including Iran, where it has killed like many prominent nuclear scientists. Um, but like you also explained, like after Raisi is, I mean, he's no more. So the leaders who would actually come to that position, or be it the supreme leader or the president leader, they are within that community, right? I mean, they are within the structure, they are within the, I mean, they are part of the system. So anyway, it's not changing the power balance. They are still
No,
those
but Anna,
hardline.
why are you even assuming for once that any leader of Iran can just be killed within Iran?
Hmm.
Mossad can't just take anyone out.
Hmm.
I mean, yes, they have taken out all these important leaders of Iran, but where were they killed? They were all killed outside of Iran, not inside.
Yeah.
And the Ayatollah does not travel, and his security is
Okay.
another level. One. Secondly, even if he were killed, there is a process for succession even there. Even if the supreme leader is killed,
Okay. Okay.
there's a
Huh.
succession plan
Yeah.
even there, right?
Right.
There
Right.
might be some turmoil and turbulence,
Right.
or maybe more.
Hmm.
But nobody's killed within Iran.
Hmm.
If we say that Mossad, in terms of intelligence agencies, is one of the
No,
top
I mean,
class
we
in.
don't. Yeah.
No, no, no. That's
But
October 7th broke that myth,
yes, for
right?
sure. For sure. The
That they no
impenetrable.
longer
Hmm.
feel and seem like the impenetrable fortress,
Yeah.
and they have a massive reach the way we thought they did,
Hmm.
through Gaza, through West Bank, so on and so forth.
Hmm.
Not really. But the intelligence agency of Iran is actually spectacular,
Hmm.
which is why they had to take Qasem Soleimani out. But could they have taken Qasem Soleimani out if he were in Iran?
Hmm.
Not really.
Not really.
It
Yeah.
was when he was traveling in Iraq.
Yeah.
And the Americans do have maybe they have the wherewithal, with all the spying, with all the, access to satellite images, so on and so forth. Maybe they have access, but they will not look at taking someone out on their own soil.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, not for once assume that why are they not taking out the supreme leader, and
Hmm.
why are they taking out all these others who are no.
Okay.
It's a very different ball game. You cannot just take out the Ayatollah
Yeah.
just like that.
Yeah.
So that question does not exist.
Yeah.
It's a non-existent proposition
Yeah.
as of now, because they actually have to travel out. The fact that Raisi was
Hmm.
in the border areas is why there is so many questions. If this crash would have happened within Iran, then in all probability, even then there would have been speculation because he was flying and that's why, somebody interfered, so on and so forth. That can happen. Israelis attacked Iranian territory.
Hmm.
They bombarded the Iranian territory, right?
Yeah.
After, as retaliation to
Yeah.
Iran's attack, which was a retaliation to
Hmm.
the Israeli attack of Iranian consulate in
Yeah.
Syria. So the to and fro happened.
Got it. I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying, but there's also this. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. Might be I might be wrong because there are still speculation. But I'm just saying that, for example, like you said, of course, I mean, there's no question that why didn't you take the supreme leader and not this. But then Israel, if Iran is to be in the coming months or years or whatever time, if they are to ascertain or Israel's probable hands in this, so Israel must have anticipated, right? If their name, if this is being corroborated that they are involved in this, so they also know that they are in a very vulnerable position where they cannot afford a full blown war.
Nor can
Or
Iran,
hmm.
because the
So
Americans will send their warships.
yeah, so yeah, that
Post October
backing is
7th,
hmm,
the American warships were there
hmm,
in the waters to ensure that nobody dares attack Israel just because they have now started bombarding
okay,
Gaza. So they're prepared.
yeah,
And while the like you're rightly saying, why should they do it?
yeah,
They'd be vulnerable. I agree.
hmm,
I don't see why they should be doing it.
hmm,
But should there be any link, expect massive destruction and chaos over there. Having said that, just to think that Israel is very vulnerable. No, Israel is very important in America's foreign policy architecture. Why would America let Israel be vulnerable to an Iranian attack? They will be there. They will destroy Iran if that's what it takes. And at the cost of what? At the cost of a war in the region where Israel will be taken out. So
hmm,
nobody wants all these countries to be
hmm,
taken out because that means too much of loss and
hmm,
destruction and massive chaos.
yeah,
And what will it lead to? It will lead to a global economic slump like none other the world has ever witnessed,
hmm,
because this will impact your entire oil industry, which means the energy sector, which
right,
means your manufacturing and industries will be impacted, which means there will be loss of jobs, slowdown of economy. So nobody wants a war in this region, in this part of the world.
yeah,
To think that Israel would want to do it because they want the supreme leader out or Raisi out, and then the counter question of why should they want to do it, they will
yeah,
be wiped out. No, one, they will not be wiped out.
hmm,
America will come to their rescue, but to what end and for how long?
hmm,
And yes, Iran will have allies who will then start attacking. It is going to be chaotic. So you
yeah,
should only hope that the black box and all the other investigations should just come out and
hmm.
say it was an accident.
This is how you think Tehran would probably tread
No,
its way?
Tehran might not come out. See, there's also prestige value here, right? If you
Yeah,
say that somebody could just take your president out,
yeah,
so I don't think they'll just make it so simple and make it sound
yeah.
so
Like
simple.
how we know how Israel reacted and responded to
Yes,
Hamas's attack. It's like
they would
it's
say,
a
oh,
on
yes,
my pride, so I
yeah,
need to take it,
yeah.
give it back. Yeah.
Not just, no, no, no. I'm talking about the other way.
Okay.
That if they get to know that suppose they get to know that there was outside interference,
Hmm.
for them it's a pride issue. How did someone just take the president of Iran out,
Yeah.
snuffed his life out
Yeah.
without a hitch?
Hmm.
How did that really happen?
Hmm.
Are they that bad with their intelligence and their everything else in their security system? So for them, that will be a huge blow. Will they come out and accept it is one thing.
Yeah.
Secondly, even if they don't accept it completely and they know of it, there will be hell to pay for whoever is involved, because there will be retaliation, but it will not be an announced one, because if they don't announce it. But should they say, okay, this has happened, but we get now seeing now that there's an outside hand and we need to just
Yeah.
say it and get into it, then there's going to be hell to pay. So there are a lot of permutation combination. There could be one where even if they see it, they might not publicly announce it, because that would mean
Yeah,
a
it's
huge
like a
blow to their
embarrassment.
entire intelligence and security architecture itself. How
Yeah.
did that happen? How did an assassination take place, if this were an assassination, right?
Right. Yeah.
On your watch.
Yeah.
You
On
know,
your
so
very
they
watch. Yeah.
yeah, so they will be careful.
Also, I think to bring India into perspective, because they have actually, long shared historical and cultural ties. And the last many decades, if you see, India has maintained cordial relations with countries in the region, including Iran. And bilateral trade ties between both the countries have improved after Raisi was elected the president in 2021. And under President Raisi only, Iran pursued a very look east strategy of deepening ties with Asian powers, including India. And just recently, while we were discussing India's trade policies and China being our top trading partner, India and Iran had by that time signed a 10-year contract for the Iranian Chabahar Port after years of negotiations. So, although we know that these major decisions lie in the hands of the supreme leader, still under Raisi's presidency, we can say our ties sort of improved. So, will this work in continuum now that he is no more and some other will replace him?
Um, so it's a very interesting question, because Iran and India have had relationship way beyond
Right.
and way before any of these leaders. There has been a lot of difficulty in ties in continuing to do business because of the sanctions. But after the Russia Ukraine war, where India stood its ground for Russia to continue buying from Russia, not just the weapons, we've also started buying oil from Russia,
Yeah.
despite the sanctions. There has been a view that, and it has been a view that India's held, but didn't follow through for Iran for many years, which is that we do not accept country based sanctions. The only sanctions India honors and recognizes are UN sanctions.
Yeah.
So if you really think this country is a problem, get everybody together to sign on those sanctions. And because the United Nations Security Council is a divided house,
Yeah.
there are always vetoes, these sanctions don't come through. So India is very clear that we don't honor country based sanctions. And that they became more loud about when Russia Ukraine war happened, saying that, these country based sanctions against a country such as Russia won't
Yeah.
help, because we have our traditional weapons partners. And then in that space, they started also buying oil, because it kept it cheaper and allowed us to keep certain sanity on the
Yeah.
massively soaring oil prices. On the other hand, Iran is a country where we got carve out when no other country was getting a carve out. Chabahar was one of the areas, certain other provisions. But in Chabahar also, when we had that carve out, it was for Afghanistan, because we needed access to Afghanistan. And then later we realized that it is not just Afghanistan. When this port deal was announced, we said access to Afghanistan, Eurasia, and Central Asia. So there's a bit of an
Okay.
expansion that we're looking at, to
Yeah.
which the State Department had said that, well, Chabahar will come under any country that does this will come under sanctions. So they said, but India, are you saying that, the carve out or waiver does not exist or no longer stands? They said, well, any country, So which means that there was, then we asked the US ambassador, I had in an interview, I'd asked him that will you sanction India?
Yeah.
He said, no, we are seeking clarification. So they're seeking clarifications, which means
Okay.
what? Which means that US also recognizes the importance of India-Iran relations.
Hmm.
Raisi and the foreign minister, Amir-Abdollahian, they were critical
Hmm.
in this Chabahar deal. In fact, Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister of India, only recently in a statement
Yeah.
after hearing of the death said that it is unfortunate because these are the two people because of which this Chabahar Port Pact became a reality.
Okay.
So, yes, they will be missed,
Yes.
but this is a relationship that's a continuum. So
Hmm.
maybe there'll be a little bit of slowdown because of the vacuum, the transition, so on and so forth. But I don't see any major
Hmm.
impact on India-Iran relations. If anything, both countries want to remain engaged.
Right.
Iran, in fact, wants more engagement with India because the countries that Iran is friends with are all sanctioned or highly sanctioned or partly sanctioned. China and Russia. The other
Hmm.
country that India really engages, big countries I'm
Yeah.
talking about,
Yeah.
is India,
Hmm.
who is in this unique position of having friends in the East, in the West, barring China, that we have a complex and difficult relationship
Hmm.
with. We have good relations and ties with all the countries, whether it's US, Russia, Ukraine,
Hmm.
you name it, we are good with those countries. Our only complex relationship is with China.
Yeah.
And even there, like we said in our last episode,
Hmm.
we trade quite well.
Yeah.
So, in terms of on the ground, I don't see a massive adverse impact to
Yeah.
this loss.
Yeah.
It is a loss for Iran. But when it comes to India Iran relations,
Hmm.
there is a consistent belief within Tehran that they need to continue engaging with a country like India that has its good offices they can use
Hmm.
for the betterment of their own country.
Right. So just as we go, Geeta, if you see, I mean, there's a power struggle that exists among factions within the Islamic Republic. But how will it make Iran more vulnerable and unstable? Because the supreme leader is aging. The hardline conservatives, they are not united. They will be hushed probably to choose a president if the supreme leader agrees in 50 days. Now they know the world is watching. The reformers, well, they just don't exist because they are anyway muzzled. With all this in place, the region is marred by wars. There's a struggling domestic economy. There's also a probable potential of popular protests and a shadow war with Israel. So, how do you think Iran will respond to this instability? Considering West Asia is on fire, so what will Tehran's next steps mean for the broader Middle East?
See, they already were on the path to certain normalization, which again, the foreign minister had played a very important role in, having China mediate between Iran and Saudi Arabia, something that we discussed in one of our previous episodes.
Yeah.
The West Asian countries are going to wait and watch for now. Middle
Okay.
East is going to wait and watch. In fact, when the helicopter crashed,
Hmm.
apart from some other countries, Saudi Arabia, Turkey obviously did, but in Saudi Arabia also offered assistance.
Yeah.
That do you need help to
Yeah.
find, to locate
Hmm.
the president's helicopter? Because that was the biggest challenge at the time. So I think right now they do not, they're also standing together on the cause of Palestine. There are bigger issues over here where they see that, they're coming together. There is a Shia Sunni sectarian strife that will not go away, but I think China plays a very important role over here in already having been a mediator between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And I don't think they do not want to continue this normalization. So, however the transition takes place, it's one, if you ask me, is going to be quite smooth.
Yeah.
It's not going to be very unstable because it's not the supreme leader who's died, it's the president. Internally, yes, who will be the next Ayatollah is something we'll have to wait and see. That's for another day. Today, if you ask me, it's an immediate one. The first vice president has already been appointed president. The acting deputy foreign minister has already been appointed foreign minister, so the replacements are already in. The transition is going to be smooth. There is going to be a continuum in policy. Again, why? Because the conservatives still are in control and the Ayatollah is on his high seat.
Got it. I think very well explained, because these are the questions that people want to know.
Yeah.
And all these, if you just don't cut the noise on social media.
Yeah, because it's so much of speculation, but
so
right
much.
now I see absolutely smooth transition.
Right.
And the only celebrations and revelry that you see, barring a few maybe quarters within Iran, is outside of Iran. So
Yeah. Okay.
that's that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Geeta. I think very well explained. And I'm sure people who are watching us and listening to us, they must have, because this is Iran is actually a country that is very interesting to understand and comprehend, because it's not like it's a theocratic society. There's an authoritarian rule over there. So you really need to understand the supreme leader's role, the president's role, because people would be like, "Acha, okay, because I think I was just having a conversation with one of my friends, and he was like, "Are to kya hua? It's just the president, right?" I mean, not. I mean, like, there were emotions involved, but I'm just saying that it's just the president, so everything is just going to be very smooth, right?
Like you said, why are they not killing or taking out
No,
the
I'm
supreme
not.
leader? Why
Geeta,
just the president?
I'm not advocating,
Not
please.
advocating, but the question, why aren't they? It's
Because
not that
trust
easy.
me, I have read this.
So, but then,
Uh,
a lot of people say, why
yeah,
aren't they? Because it's not easy. You can't
yeah,
just go, which leader has been killed inside or assassinated inside?
right.
They also have a very solid security system. It's not
Yeah.
easy to break into and just go and take out. Why are they taking out Raisi? Why not the supreme leader? Because.
Just
On that note,
yeah. So because we have an answer for like 40-45 minutes, long answer. I
you might
hope.
want to rewind and listen to it.
Yeah. So I just hope you found this informative. So let those bouquets and brick bands
Continue.
continue. Yeah.
Shower them upon us.
Yes, and
And we shall
continue.
receive them humbly so.
Yeah, and also just drop an email. We love to read, actually, so make it as long as you can. So thank
I'd say brevity is my, for something
yeah,
that I'd like more than.
yeah, because anyway you're used to giving all those 5 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes.
No, also
No,
I'd like to add brevity is good. I'd like to keep it brief rather than very long because there's much to read.
so you
on
can,
that
if you're writing it
subjects.
short, just address as Dear Geeta.
Or else you can say, Dear Anna. Okay, on
So,
that note.
yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
again, I'll just reiterate, the number is 8588966996, and the email ID is pods@indiatoday.com. So thank you so much and stay tuned.